right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Monday Night Live with Greg and Neil. And we have another stream invasion tonight. Abby has joined us as well. So you've got the whole clan here. So every Monday night at 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, we do our weekly live. Unless it was last week, which was Memorial Day. We took the day off. So we are here. And we are going to talk about something Abby brought up.
We're here to talk about ourselves, what we do best, right?
I don't know if YouTube has the bandwidth to talk about all three of us at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, basically, I just realized that we have our story here and there. If you watch our YouTube videos, you can probably glean this and that. But I kind of just wanted to do like a Meet Matterhorn Monday. Triple alliteration.
Good.
I think out of the three of us, you probably know Greg's story the most, just even if it's very briefly, because it gets brought up the most, which makes sense. But I thought it would be nice to just kind of go around the room, so to speak, and kind of how we each got here. Obviously, we're family, and obviously our stories involve each other, but we did all take different paths to get here.
Abby was the late bloomer of the group.
I'm the youngest of the group, so that
I know. I was working when I was selling and speaking and doing all that when I was 16, and you were kind of like
being a rock star.
That's true. You were being a rock star. But even just 6-8 months ago, you're like, I don't want to sell anything, and then here you are, you're closing all the deals that are coming through. So
I still don't like selling, but
Well, Neil, you actually weren't selling when you were 16. You were selling when you were 10.
I thought it was like 12.
Yeah, I think I was like 12 when I started selling handcrafted all wooden pens that my brother made.
So Vince is not on the call. Vince is the oldest. Vince has his own company where he does interior design, imaging, and kitchen remodeling. And he's quite the artist when it comes to that. But I guess, let's see, it would have had to been 1995, 1996. I got a pen from a client that was made out of wood. It was handmade. And I found out you can buy these kits of wooden blocks and parts to make a pen. And I showed it to Vince, and he got excited. He's quite the engineer and technician. And so we set up a shop in the basement for Vince with a wood lathe and a bandsaw. And Vince started making pens, but he didn't want to sell them. And back in the day, I mean, these were $40, $50, $60 pens. So that was a pretty good price back then. And Neil's like, well, I'll sell them. What are you going to pay me? So we got Neil a display case, and Vince would make the pens, and the boys would walk around at the seminars at the dental practice management company, but Neil was the closer. There's no doubt.
Let's be honest. I was really more of an order taker, because when the CEO of the company is at the front of the room and says, my son makes these pens and my other son sells them, it's kind of an easy job to sell them, because pretty much everybody just comes up and starts giving you money. So yes, I was the closer, but it wasn't super difficult. Let's put it that way.
Well,
there was somewhere.
There was a bit of sympathy close in there, but you still took their money.
Hey, I have no problem with sympathy closes.
Yeah. Vince got all excited because they made like $400 or $500 in a day.
Yeah.
And so at that time, Neil you'd have been 11 or 12. Vince was a couple years older. That was a lot of money. That was a good day.
I went and bought a PlayStation game with my first paycheck, so I was happy.
It's funny because I was going to make a joke about you needing money for PlayStation games, but that was the truth of it.
Well, the full story, we're rambling, but so growing up, obviously, okay, so my dad has this practice management company. were pretty well off, big house. We had dirt bikes, So growing up, I had friends who just thought that like, I got everything that I wanted, which is what you usually think of when people are quote unquote rich or whatever. The kids just get whatever they want and all that stuff. So one day we were in Best Buy and I went to the PlayStation section and I grabbed like 1 or 2 PlayStation games and I kind of went up to my dad and I was like, hey, I want to get these. And he's like, where's your money? And I was like, what are you talking about? And I was like, what are you talking about? And he's like, if you don't have any money on you, how are you going to buy these games? So I had to put the games back and I was pissed. And and then I started selling pens. And but that's one of those things is, we got dirt bikes at Christmas one year and we got nice stuff like that. But if I wanted a new game and it wasn't my birthday and it wasn't Christmas and I wasn't doing great in school or something like that, then I figured out a way to hustle it and make some money or do something. And I always was able to do that. And selling was what I realized was the fastest and easiest way to make money, because I used to go into Dad's office on Saturdays in the summertime and shred papers for $5 an hour. And I would get done with a whole day of shredding and I'd have 1 million bags of shredding and I'd get paid like $30 or whatever. And I was like, this sucks. This is nothing, And so that's why selling for me was always the thing, was because I could make money faster and all that kind of stuff.
with less manual labor.
Yeah. Keep talking. I'll be right back. 1 second. There's a distraction in the room.
A distraction probably named Joey. So for those that don't know, Dad, why don't you just briefly tell your story? I feel like if you're watching this video, you've probably heard it, but just in case this is maybe one of your first interactions of us, our story starts with Greg. So what's your story, Greg?
Wait a minute. Greg starts this story?
I mean, to be fair, we would not exist without him. So,
my story actually starts growing up. My dad and my uncle owned a restaurant. And so I was raised in a family-owned business and I absolutely loved it. Restaurant business is very, very hard, but I never had any trouble with hard work. And I thought it was really cool. On Sundays after church, people would line up outside the restaurant to stand in line to give us money. And they got great food in exchange for that. But I learned a lot from my dad about how to price food in the business so that there was a profit. And that little restaurant in the town of 3,000 put my brother and myself and my cousins through college. And then when I went to dental school, there was no way after graduation I was going to work for somebody else. So by Thanksgiving of my 4th year, I had the practice purchase all inked. That's a whole nother story for another day. And I wasn't even going to get my license until the following July. But I was just like, I'm going to have my own business. And so then I grew that practice and I ended up in 92 and 93 taking some business management training courses. And I actually did a course on marketing and several courses on sales and hiring and managing by statistics. And nobody ever came to my office and told me what to do. I was taught. It's like going to college for dentists. And so applying all that data, within 12 months, I was semi-retired at age 38. I was making a lot of money. I had my first Corvette. I had a little Cessna airplane. I was actually making more money working part-time than I made working by myself full-time. And then I was offered a partnership at that training company. And in December of 93, I sold my practice to my associate and became a partner at that training company. And today it's the largest of its kind in North America. There's clients in 48 states, half the provinces in Canada, 55,000 square foot training center in St. Petersburg, Florida, just outside Tampa. Satellite office in satellite office in Anaheim, California. And about 5 years ago, I semi-retired from that to start Matterhorn, because Neil and Abby and I have always talked about doing something ourselves. And so now we focus on any business outside of dentistry. And we have chiropractors, we've got painter, construction, yard care, pest control, We have a kidney specialist with 4 locations. And we just have a blast just helping people, small business owners, do better. Our longest running client, we took him in, now it's been over 3 years. We took him from 640,000 to 1.4 million. And here we are in June. He's easily on track for 2 million this year. And so we just do our business mentoring thing. And if we've got the client that's willing to learn and work and follow the Matterhorn business development process and follow profit first cash flow management, our clients right now are rocking the house. So that's kind of the short version of my story. But then, as Neil,
you're downplaying yourself a little bit. I mean, how many tens of thousands of people have you done a public lecture to?
That's a good question. I kind of roughly estimated 200,000. It might be 250. I'm not sure. I've lectured all across the U.S., Canada. I've actually lectured in 10 different countries on business. So, yeah, I've kind of carved out my own niche, I guess you could say.
250,000 people is a lot of people. I mean,
that's wild.
That's a lot of people.
Last weekend at the Indy 500, there was like 135,000 people there, and that was around the whole track.
Right.
And that's still half of probably what you've done. That's a lot of people.
The largest crowd I ever lectured to was at a convention. I got a 5-minute segment on a major lineup in the New Orleans Convention Center to 13,000. So that's my largest crowd. But most of that is, somewhere between 20 people and 100 people at a time. It's been a blast. I've lectured at some really incredible venues. I lectured in a 600-year-old building in Denmark, in Copenhagen. I've lectured all over Switzerland. Winteregg is Swiss. So, yep, I've had a blast, my business training career.
I just had to throw that out there because
I
knew the number was crazy. So,
from the beginning, and Neil's already alluded to it, I included you guys in the business, bringing you into Shred when you were 8 or 10 years old, and you made money and you got to buy your own stuff. And
I didn't make money when I was 8. What's this money you're talking about?
I don't remember making money at 8. I think it was like 10, 11, 12, something like that.
So Neil, so your story starts with the pen selling, but then what happened from there?
So I went from selling pens to shredding paper. And then in the summertime, my dad would make me go in to their practice management company and take some of the basic introductory business type courses that these doctors would go through. So when I was like 13, 14, probably around 13, 14, I started doing some of the basic stuff there. And then the 3-year fight between me and him of ever going back to school was started because he taught me. He wanted me to go to school, and he taught me that school was crap because I would much rather be learning about this business stuff than going to school. So I would try and convince him all the time to let me just basically drop out of school and go study at his business and learn about business because that's what was exciting.
I cannot tell you how many times I'm sitting down with Neil and he's 13, he's 14. He's like, I'm not going to school. I'm like, Neil, it's the law. I will go to jail.
Who cares?
I will go to jail, son, if you don't go to school. We had that conversation more than once.
Yeah, so then I found out, since we had a condo in Florida, we lived in Virginia at the time, but we had a condo in Florida. And I found out that in the state of Florida, you only had to be 16 to take a GED test, whereas in Virginia, you had to be 18 years old to take a GED. I'm sorry, that's the dumbest law I've ever heard about. So I had just gotten my driver's permit. I basically drove with my mom to Florida, got a permit in the state of Florida, took the pre-test for the GED, and then the day I turned 16, went back to the DMV, got my official ID or whatever, took the GED basically as soon as I possibly could, and then never went back to school ever again.
Yeah.
And that was how I shaved off 2 years of education, was by finding out that if I went to Florida, because I was researching this. We didn't have Google, but I was on the before Googles trying to figure out how to get out of school and never have to go back. And I found out that since we had a condo in Florida, I could take the GED in Florida. So I came down here, 16 years old, took the GED. Then my dad's practice management company had a small office down here. And I just went into the office and started working immediately in the sales area, setting up, selling, et cetera, et cetera. And that's just from 16 till now. That's, you know, I've been a salesman my whole life. I'm 34 now. So I've been selling for easily as a full-time profession, 18 years. That's where I've made my living. And I've done public speaking and all that stuff, but I haven't quite done 250,000 people.
And I love telling the story. So I don't remember how old you were. It had to be 17. And Neil's selling services and he's making a pretty decent living. And he went to, what was it, H&R Block or something?
Yeah, I had to go to H&R Block and get my taxes done.
So tell the story. This is a great story.
Well, you used to have my taxes done when you got your taxes done. And then I found out that you always got your taxes done, I guess, from the corporate perspective, whatever, in the October time. So I would get my tax refund in like November. And then I found out that I could get it done sooner if I just did it myself, which was easy. So I went to H&R Block. It was down here in Florida. And I had my W-2, which it wasn't for a ton of money. But I mean, for a 17-year-old person, you know, living at home still, to make, I don't know, 38,000, something like that. I mean,
38 or 40.
It was somewhere around there, maybe 40, but let's say it was 40.
Was like what year too? Like 2005 or something?
Yeah.
2004? I think it was 2004 or 5.
Yeah, it would have. You know, inflation has definitely occurred. So
let's say it was 2000. Yeah, it was like 2004. I go to H&R Block and I start telling the lady, I give the lady my W-2. And I don't know anything about tax. I don't know how anything works. I just know I'm going to go into there and I'm going to get money coming out, roughly about $1,000. So I was stoked. And I was going to buy a stereo system for my truck. So I was super stoked. And she's like looking at the W-2 and she's all kind of like, you know, and I'm just kind of like, when do I get my money? You know? So she's like, well, what is this? And what do you do? I'm like, oh, I'm a salesman. She's like, I mean, this is for $40,000. And I was like, yeah, that's not a lot of money. You know, in my mind, I'm thinking I should be making more, right? And I'm like, well, I mean, you know, she's like, well, what do you do? Well, I put on these seminars for this company. And, you know, then we go there and then we sell them consulting and business training. And she's like, but how did you make the money? I'm like, well, I'm a salesman. And she's like, it still wasn't clicking for her. And she's like, well, how does somebody your age get a job at a company that works with dentists like this? And I'm like, well, my dad's the owner of the company. She goes, oh, see, your dad owns the company. And I got pissed. I was like, and I was like, no. You see this money? I was like, this is commission. I was like, this is how much I sold. This is how much I made. I was pretty livid, right? Because I'm 17. I'm walking into doctors' offices and people think, oh man, this kid doesn't know what he's talking about. He's got braces and dorky glasses my mom picked out, you know, shit like that. And then they would listen to me because I would say, hey, you see that there? That's got to go. That's got to change. This employee sucks. You got to get rid of them. And like, I knew what I was talking about. So people actually couldn't believe that I was only 17 or 18 years old, even though I looked it, just because I acted like I was 30. Plus I had this deep voice since I was like 14. So that was also really good. And so then I told the lady that was all just commission and she still didn't believe me. And so I walked out feeling proud of myself.
My favorite line though, is you're leaving it out. At one point when she finally got that you actually earned the money, she looked at you and said, how old are you?
Like 17, duh, you know, like you have my birth date and my social security number. You tell me. But that was kind of like the beginning of like, you know, picking up, deciding, you know, what I wanted to do in life, where I wanted to go. And I loved going into offices or businesses and then feeling like, oh man, these people aren't going to listen to me, or, you know, whatever. And then just making them listen to me because I knew what I was talking about. And I think that Dad gave me that confidence, because one time when I was still really early in selling, I was talking to some dentist at a seminar, and the guy was being a word I won't say on the live, but he was being a word that I use.
A big poopy head.
He was being a poopy head. He's being a poopy head. He doesn't want to talk to me. He doesn't want to listen to me. And Dad was talking to a different person at a different table, and I'm talking to this guy, and he wants this. He's like, oh, I want to talk to him. I don't want to talk to you. I want to talk to him or whatever. And I didn't really know what to do, because I was only like 16 at this point. Like, I was young. I didn't know what I was doing. I was young, and this guy's not willing to listen to me. And my dad gets up, interrupts the interview. He leans into the guy's face, and he's like, listen, he knows more about business than you do. So if you don't want to listen to him, you can leave. And just turns around and walks away. And believe it or not, the guy left.
Oh my gosh.
But then that gave me like you know, like, I know what I'm talking about, you know? And so then when I started actually going into doctors' offices, I just ignored the fact that I was 17, and then they ignored the fact that I was 17. Like, if I walked in thinking, oh my God, I'm this young kid, I don't know anything, I don't know what I'm doing, then they would be like, how the heck old are you? And, you know, all that. But what I found was, if I just walked in like I owned the place and started talking to them like I know what I'm doing and you don't. And I'm not saying to do that as a jerk. It's just that confidence of knowing, like, I do know more than you do about your business. Yeah, you want to teach me how to fix a tooth? Fix me how to teach tooth. In fact, you'd have to wake me up, because I'm going to pass out because I can't stand it. But it was just learning that idea of, like, I do know what I'm doing and I know what I'm talking about. And when I say something, it's generally correct.
And you had done the courses, you had done the training, you had done all the business training that the dentists were doing, who had paid a lot of money to do it. So you actually weren't faking it. You know, the fake it till you make it kind of a thing. You were not faking it. You really knew what you were talking about.
Yeah. I wasn't faking it. But if I had the idea that I was too young, and I couldn't do this, or I'm out of place here, then I would have been out of place to the people that I was talking to. But I didn't command a room like I'm a little kid and you might want to listen to what I have to say. I commanded the room as the senior in the room, of like,
I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. If you want to quiz me on dentistry, yes, your staff are going to know more than I do. You know, you want to ask me how to file insurance claims. I don't do that. I get it. I don't know anything about that. But you want to ask me about selling treatment plans, getting in new patients, communication with your patients. Yeah, I'm the senior here, so you should listen to what I have to say. And people would respect that. And if they did ask me how old I was, I just am the master of no answer answering. So I would answer them, and then they would forget that they asked me that question. And then we would just keep going. Now,
I have to tell one of my favorite Neil stories. So Neil and I are doing these seminars all around the East Coast, and we're in Miami. And Neil would sell people a 2-hour, seven successful things to create a successful practice, or something like that. And it was $100, and Neil would put 10 or 20 people in a room, and then he and I would go to that city, and on Tuesday night we would do the seminar. So we're in Miami, and while Neil's registering, it's just him and me. So he and I are pre-qualifying the room during registration before I start talking. And the idea was to find out who are the better prospects in the room between 7 o'clock and 9 o'clock at night. So the next day we ended up double booked over lunch, and there was a dentist there who pretty much we were pretty sure we were going to close, and there was somebody else who was kind of on the edge. And so they couldn't meet at different times. So I dropped Neil off at the primary prospect's office. And I said, just keep talking until I get back, because I don't think my doctor is going to close. So sure enough, I'm at my doctor's office. He's not willing to help himself. So I text Neil, I'm on my way. Just keep talking. I pull up in front of the doctor's office and Neil's standing on the sidewalk. And I won't ever forget it. I hit the steering wheel with my fist. I said some bad words. And Neil gets in the car. And I'm like, what are you doing? I told you to keep him busy until I got here. Neil just gets this real interesting grin on his face. And he pulls a check for $7,800 out of his pocket. And I'm like, how did you do that? He's like, Dad, I've been watching you for 6 months. And that's exactly what happened, because I would take Neil with me to these offices and he would sit there and he would do the paperwork at the close, or if my phone rang, he would find out who it was and take a message. And for 6 months, he sat there and he took it down all by himself.
It was easy.
He was a great guy, but still, a close is a close.
Yeah, that was my first real big time close on my own. And then I had gotten some guys close to closing, but I could never push them over the edge. And you'd come over and just like BS with them for 5 minutes, and they'd hand you a credit card. And I was fucking pissed. I was like, all right, that one, that was mine. He talks to him for 5 minutes and they pay. So then this time I just walked through the guy's office, let him show me around, let him show me all of his stuff, show me his equipment, show me his x-rays, et cetera, et cetera. And I just said, yeah, you know, these seminars would be really good for you. You'll love it. And he said, how much is it? And I told him, and he asked if I take checks. I said, I think so. And I walked out and I didn't know where to go, because I wasn't just going to sit in his office and be like, I'm waiting for my daddy to come pick me up. Right. So I just walked outside and just waited.
I love it. I love it.
Oh my
So
gosh.
Abby, we've got to get to your story. Neil and I have been hogging the airwaves
Yeah,
here.
geez, guys.
So yes, you did start shredding.
Yeah, I mean, same as Neil. I would go in when I was young. I don't even know why I was there when I was like 8 or 10 or whatever, but I have memories of shredding and sorting pieces of paper and like hanging out with the receptionists. And then I too graduated high school when I was 16, but I actually got my full high school diploma.
Actually, I got a diploma.
Hey, in the state of Florida, a GED is the equivalent of a high school diploma. Just saying, there's no shame.
There is no shame. But I basically at that time, I'm a musician. For those that don't know, I play the bass guitar. I can kind of get by on guitar and piano, but my main instrument is the bass guitar. I was in bands in the Tampa Bay area for like a decade, oddly enough. And, you know, when I was 16, that was full on what I was going to do. I was totally dedicated to that. So I graduated high school, and then I kind of needed something to do. I did need like a day job and, you know, gas money and all of that. I obviously was still living
money.
Yeah. So I started working at the company and literally making $10 an hour. Wasn't like I got like some special bonus. But I was doing Starbucks runs, lunch runs, filing, and it was all part-time. And then slowly I had been filing in their treasury area, the finance area, and the person over that area got let go, and they were like, you know, the only other person in the company who knew how to do those functions couldn't just sit there and do it. So she was like, okay, Abby, come here. You're going to do this, this, and this. And she'd give me like the simplest task. Like I literally was just handwriting invoices that she had written down of like what to put on them. And then slowly it was like, okay, enter this stuff in the computer. Here's how you do it. Bye. Like literally I'd be shown for like 30 seconds and it'd be like, cool, you're going to do this. Bye. And I was like, dude, do you know how old I am. Like, are you sure you want to trust me with this? And just slowly I was given more and more responsibility until I could do every function in that area. And for a few years, I still was working there part-time, but doing music and other things. And then I think I was like 21 or 22 when I kind of decided to not stop music, but stop like the pursuit of a career. And I was just like, okay, I need to like start thinking about moving out of my parents' house and like make real money and all of that, like start becoming an adult. So I told the company like, okay, I can do full time, which they've been bugging me about like forever. The HR person who I'm good friends with was bugging me constantly to get me to go full time. And then I was officially appointed as the executive over that area. And then, they were still doing handwritten invoices. Like, this company is started as a small mom and pop family company in like the early 90s or late 80s, or I don't know. And just no one had ever taken that role of like moving them forward with the times. Like everyone was so busy growing the business that no one could really sit down and do the systems part of everything. And it was just kind of like a task that was handed to me that I had to figure out, because I was like, guys, we got to stop handwriting invoices. It's 2014. Like we need to do something else. And they were like, well, if you want to do something else, go figure it out. And I found the program NetSuite and I got them, long story short, I did this huge, at least 1 year long project of switching them from all these other systems all to one NetSuite system. And in that time, it was just kind of like, okay, Abby, this is your project. Like I would get final approval on stuff, but I really had to just like figure it out and make decisions. And I really had to learn how to mediate like everyone in the company coming to me and saying like, this doesn't work for me and this doesn't work for me. And like, I really had to learn the whole company structure. And while I worked there, I was sometimes put in different positions when there were holes, and I worked almost every position on the org chart while I was there. I knew a little bit of everything. So I really learned how an organization runs and really like the steps of how every person in the company is connected, and how if you do one thing over here, it can affect someone else over here. And I think, not to toot my own horn, but I think that that's a skill that not everyone has, or it can be cognizant of. Like most employees and workers are head down, like, this is my job. This is what I need to do. I need to get X done, and can't really think about how, if they do something, it could affect someone else in the organization. So I got so much experience from that job. I never went to college and I never had like a certification of any sort, but I just got so much hands-on training and hands-on experience. Not to mention I did the same business courses while I was there that the clients were doing. And it was an invaluable experience. And when we started Matterhorn, I was originally just going to keep doing the same thing. I was going to be the administrator and run all of the background stuff, which I do today. But I got kind of bored of that very quickly. And I was like, I've done this before. I'm someone that I always need a new game and something new to do. So then I don't even know how it ended up happening, but I started being on client calls and started realizing that maybe if I wouldn't be the one talking the whole time, but I would sometimes have something to say from my experience that was helpful for our clients. And then when we got certified, when we got certified in that one, Profit First, that was right up my alley in the finance realm. I'm very good with numbers, so I was able to pick it up very quickly. I have fun with spreadsheets and all that stuff. So Everything leading up until now has just really fallen into place because I feel like I do have certain skills and talents that these two don't, and not in a bad way, but everyone has like what they're good at, and it just happens that we all kind of like fit together perfectly in our lanes.
And I want to acknowledge you, Abby, because you were always willing to take on more responsibility, and you too, Neil. But Abby went into an area in this company, and it's a fairly significantly sized company in the Treasury area. And I know we had dismissed at least 2 college graduates with accounting degrees that couldn't handle the job. And so we've made videos about this where you don't have to go to college to be successful in life. And, Abby was standing there. We had just fired somebody who was supposed to be more qualified, and work needed to be done. And so we just showed Abby how to do it, and do this. And if you get stuck, come and ask me. And she did it. And just, you basically kept taking on more, you too, Neil. Neil was selling this seminar that, between airplane tickets, hotel rooms, the travel, the renting of the facility, all that. I mean, the break even point on that was probably $4,000 or $5,000 at the time. And it was up to Neil to put enough people in the room so that we didn't lose money on it. And the whole idea is we were supposed to make money. And Neil was willing to confront that pressure when he was 16 years old. I remember there was one conversation where the sales weren't going so well, and the chief of operations went up to Neil. You could tell the story, but I think the chief of operations looked at you and said, "So do you want your dad to lecture to an empty room?" Or there was something like that.
Yeah.
And, you're like, "No." Then he's like, "Well, you better get some people sold then," and turn around and walk away. And Neil filled up the room. So I'm really proud of you guys, but it's how I was raised. I did get my first bike given to me when I was 5 years old or whatever. But then when I outgrew that bike, my dad was like, "Well," and I'm like, "I need a new bike." And he's like, "Well, how are you going to earn the money?" And so I worked at the restaurant. And at the time, I mean, holy smokes, I was born in 55. So, what am I? It's like 1963, 1968. You make a quarter an hour, 40 cents an hour. So that was going to take too long to buy a bike. So I started cutting grass. And I would use the homeowner's lawnmower, and it didn't take too long, and I bought my first bike for $32, and I was really proud of that. And so, Neil, when you're in the store and you're like, "Hey, I want to buy this," I'm kind of like, "Oh, that's great. Where's your money?" I mean, that's pretty much just what my dad did with me. It's kind of in the winter egg genetics, I guess.
Yep.
But, I'm really proud of our family. Vince has his own company, and we all work hard and we pull together, and we help a lot of people, and we really don't have 9-to-5 jobs. We work a lot, but we have fun when we play, and we're pretty much self-sufficient. I mean, even during COVID, nobody was standing around. We actually tripled the number of clients that we're working with monthly during COVID with Matterhorn. And so, we figure it out, I guess, is the best way to say it.
Yep.
Yeah. And as you'll see floating across the bottom of the screen there, if you go to adventuretoprofit.com, you can apply for our group coaching program, Adventure to Profit. And one of the several components of that program is you get weekly calls with us on the calls. So you get kind of each of our take, or if you have a question specifically for one of us, we're there for you. So I highly encourage you to check out adventuretoprofit.com, apply. It's a quick application, and it's just to make sure you're a good fit for the program, which most people are. And that program is something I worked very, very hard on. We're still working on it. We're still constantly improving and adding to that program, and it's a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
And I want to say today we broke 5,900 subscribers on YouTube.
Ooh.
So we're at 5,903.
Yeah.
And going into COVID last year, we were at 700. So we've moved up a good amount in a little over
Yeah.
a year. And we
So
have a lot of fun
you.
doing these videos, and we're glad that people watch them.
Yeah. Thank you for watching and subscribing and
yeah, the
hanging out with
comments,
us.
the thumbs up, all that. We love it. It's a lot of fun. And you get to see us on these lives just being ourselves. I mean, we're ourselves obviously in the other videos on the channel, but you only get 8 or 9 minutes of it, and it's kind of at a pointed topic, whereas tonight we
you get 40 minutes of it. I mean, who doesn't want that?
4 times the fun. That's all I have to say tonight. What about you guys?
Yeah, I'm good.
I didn't have any other comments or questions.
I'm good.
I did have Kara Lee gave a great thing there about commanding the room, knowing what you're talking about, which is great. Hope you're still watching, Kara Lee. And next Monday we'll be.
I just want to make a couple of final comments. And this has to do with how I was raised and how I've raised you guys. But if you have a business and you have kids, you should include them. And not that, you know, they're on the payroll as a tax deduction because your accountant thinks it's a good idea. But include your family and give them responsibility. I mean, I was raised in this little Swiss town called Bern, Indiana, founded by my ancestors who came from Bern, Switzerland. And the whole town was just full of family-owned businesses. And so it was just kind of like assumed, you know, that the Habiggers were going to go into the Habigger furniture store and the Mosers were going to go into the Moser construction company. And, you know, it was just like a family thing. And so I never really thought that much of it until I got outside the county, so to speak. And it's really not all that common. And I think it's fun. I think it's a missed opportunity if your children want to work and you have something that you have an idea and you come together. We have a staff meeting every Friday at 10:30. We look at our statistics from the previous week. We talk about our YouTube activity. We talk about Adventure to Profit. We talk about clients that we're working with. How can we expand? We just laugh the whole time. It's a total blast. It's a lot of fun. You should check out some of our videos about working as a family. And I just want to encourage anyone who has a business to include your kids and give them jobs and tasks of responsibility. And just like we've done with you guys, just here's the responsibility. You can do it. If you have any questions, come and ask me. And I just think being in a family-owned business is a blast.
Yeah,
it's very true.
Sure.
It's very true. We have a lot of fun, and it's great for young people to be involved in something, because when I was 17, 18 years old, I didn't have time to go get in trouble. I was working, I was making money. I had a sports car that I paid for myself, and that was what motivated me to keep going. I didn't have time to go and do the crap that kids are doing these days. So
exactly. All right, so I'll let you wrap it up here, Neil. I'm done.
All right. Well, that's all we have for tonight. Thank you all for watching. We very much appreciate it. And next Monday we'll be back, and look for 2 more videos this week on the channel. So thumbs up, Abby, combined.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my God. Staff meeting on live TV. All right, bye.